This is Writers Not Writing, the show where you can get to know your favorite writers and soon-to-be favorite writers by listening to them confess to the ways they procrastinate. Thanks for procrastinating with us. I'm Benjamin Gorman, and the quiet guy behind the glass there is Doug the producer. I write novels and collections of poetry and stuff. Doug tries his best to make me sound better. And each week we have a secret word to listen for. If you catch it, you earn the right to take an extra break at the time of your choosing from whatever is stressing you out. From NotAPipePublishing, welcome to Writers Not Writing. Today's secret word is audience.
If I take my time.
Hey, everybody. So welcome to Writers Not Writing. I have some guests today who really want to be on the show. This is Pippin, one of our puppies, and here is Havoc. You can see wandering around behind me. Those of you listening to the podcast, Havoc is an eighth wolf, a gray wolf, and looks the part. And this is Mary. Mary hasn't been able to be on camera yet, and she's not happy. She's very jealous. Mary, come here. So this is Mary. So yeah, we have Mary and Pippin, and they always need all the attention to themselves at all times and get very frustrated when anybody else is getting attention. And we only have individually two hands, which they find to be thoroughly disappointing. Yeah, here we are with my guests today. And Doug, thank you for being here and putting this all together. So there's some things that I wanted to tell you about, Doug, this next week, and I'll just do this with the dogs here because that's good content. Okay, Doug. Well, the dogs thing didn't really work out, but that's okay. I'll tell you all about it. So, wanted to tell you about my Christmas. For Christmas Day, my family tradition is what I call a Jewish secular Christmas, and that is movies and Chinese food. And so we couldn't decide what movies to watch, but we decided we wanted to see more than one. We were going to do a kind of a movie marathon. And so we went to the theater, and this is after, a Twitter poll and getting input from folks. And we ended up going with my son's first choice, which was Sonic the Hedgehog 3, and my first choice, which was Nosferatu. And my wife, Crystal, endured two movies she was not particularly excited about. So points for her sacrifice on Christmas Day. But and then we all went out and got Chinese food in between the movies, and that was good. Although I wish we'd gotten the Chinese food after Nosferatu because there was a lot to discuss there. To take them in order, this is Writers Not Writing. We talk about pop culture and things outside of our writing lives. So movies are right within our wheelhouse. And to take them in order, Sonic the Hedgehog 3 is exactly what I expected, which is something that was pleasant and entirely forgettable. And that's about all I remember about that one. Yeah, so that's that. Sonic the Hedgehog 3, a solid 2.5 stars. It fills the time. I'm trying to remember if there's anything worth noting about it. And there isn't. There really isn't. It was fine. They clearly needed to pay Jim Carrey a lot of money, and he wanted to make sure he got a lot of screen time, or maybe it was the producers wanted to get their money's worth. And so he really gets to ham it up playing two different characters. And I think a lot of the jokes would be amusing to children. So that's that one. But Nosferatu, I'm pulling up the IMDb so that I get the names of the characters and everything correct. But it was really cool, and I think is worth thinking about further discussing in a little more depth. So the movie is beautifully made. It is uncomfortable, sometimes deeply disturbing. And so I was the one in my family who liked it the most. Crystal was like, both Noah and Crystal talked about how they weren't sure they would call it good, because it would be challenging to recommend for them to somebody because it's not a fun experience per se. It's not a pleasant experience. I really liked it. I found it deeply challenging. Um, and so much about it was admirable. And they agreed that artistically it was incredibly admirable. I think the movie is takes on another level if you're willing to examine it as a feminist allegory. Um, and I don't, Doug, I know you haven't seen it yet. I don't want to give away the ending, but it is a remake. The story is not, it's not the kind of movie that's particularly spoilable. But I won't reveal the ending for folks who are concerned about that. But I do encourage you, Doug, and I encourage our readers and reviewers checking this show out to go see it. See Nosferatu, and when you do, very intentionally watch it with a feminist lens, a gender critical lens, because I think that's where it's at its best. I mean, artistically, it's very cool. There are some amazing shots, there's some neat special effects things, but that's not what really grabbed me about this movie. The original Nosferatu, the or black and white uh, film is focuses on two characters, Count Orlok and Thomas. And Thomas is going off to make his fortune, and when he does, Count Orlok finds out about his new wife, falls in love with her, comes back and to try and seduce, kidnap, capture her. This one focuses on the character of Ellen, played by Lily Rose Depp, sorry. And uh, Lily Rose Depp's performance is amazing. I did not know her work previously. I was thoroughly impressed by what she could convey with her face, with this Titan kind of mannerisms, and then the work she has to do when she's in her fits in these trances is really remarkable. But it focuses on her, and one of the things that's important to understand plot wise is that we start the story when Thomas, her husband, is about to leave, and she has had a vision that things are going to go very badly. And then we later get her backstory and learn that this is not the beginning of the story for her, that she has been involved with Count Orlok since childhood. Her mother passed away. Her father couldn't relate to her. She was deeply alone and started having visions of this monstrous creature who was trying to seduce her. She gave in to that as a child and was only able to come out of all of that through her new love for Thomas, her new husband, and now he's leaving. And he is heading off to make his fortune with this new firm that he works for, and he's going to facilitate the purchase of a house in their town by this distant, strange, eccentric Count Orlok. He doesn't know that his boss is somebody who is already in a pact with Count Orlok to rain destruction upon their town by bringing Count Orlok there. So the story starts when Thomas is leaving, and you begin to think this is going to be the story of Thomas. And Thomas heads off. Everything is telling us as viewers that he should not be going. And yet he heads off on this journey, ends up meeting Count Orlok. Count Orlok gets his kind of signature and confirmation that he's willing to not only sell this house, but he can't read the document he's signing, but he is also giving up his wife in exchange for money. And so he manages to escape, survive, and return. But in the meantime, we get the story of Ellen back home. And she is having these visions of Count Orlok. She is feeling this predatory force coming for her. And everybody, that is brought in to try and help her from her husband's college buddy, Friedrich, who is played by Aaron Taylor Johnson, to her childhood friend, Anna, played by Emma Corrin, to the doctor they bring in, Dr. Wilhelm Sievers, played by Ralph Ineson. Everybody they bring in dismisses her and says she is being emotional, that she's having fits, that she's, got melancholy, but they do not believe her until finally they bring in Professor Albin Ebert von Franz, who's kind of your, monster hunter kind of character who is willing to take the supernatural seriously, and in so doing is the only character who really takes Ellen seriously. So here's where I believe this is a feminist allegory. This is a story about a bunch of men who will not countenance women, who will not listen to the women around them, take them seriously, and everything falls apart as a consequence. And there's a lot of text that supports this in the story itself. The one of the first introductions of the daughters of Ellen's best friend Anna and Friedrich. We're introduced to these two little girls, and these child actors don't have a lot of lines, which I think is a good choice. Please don't make, I'm watching Skeleton Crew right now on Disney, and I'm, enjoying it. I'm a Star Wars fan. But the problem is child actors, and it's not because children are bad. It's because acting is a skill that takes years and years and years to develop, and it's rare that child actors can be great actors. They're children. I liked that this movie doesn't focus too much on the kids, but oh, the kids could have been even creepier. But rather than make them villainous and creepy, the director decides, Robert Eggers decides to have them be this kind of introduction to the concept that women in this story are not to be taken seriously. So they say, please don't make us go to bed. There's a monster in our room. And they're dismissed. And we understand as viewers, okay, these are children saying there's monsters in their room. Not a big deal. It's not that doesn't strike us at first as, misogyny or patriarchy, right? This is just parenting. You don't take every single thing your kids say equally seriously. But the kids are right. And in the context of the larger film, that was a little clue that women will not be heard in this story. And then when Ellen is really going through her struggles, the men are continuously dismissing her, and she's telling them what's going to happen. And ultimately, the only character who believes her is Willem Dafoe. Willem Dafoe's character, Professor Albin Ebert von Franz, and Professor Albin believes her, and yet even in their last great act, these men go off to fight Count Orlok in his home in this very male, we're going to go confront him and fight him physically kind of act. And Professor Ebhart knows the person who really has to defeat him is Ellen. He's the only one who trusts a woman. And so I posted this take that this is a story about a woman being stalked and nobody listens to her, and she ends up being right. And the only person who listens to her is the only man who survives, basically. And it was really interesting, the responses. One clever person who I should cite her name pointed out it's not just stalking, it's grooming. And I thought that was a really good insight because we are told in the text that this started when she was a child, and that she was targeted because she was vulnerable, because she was isolated. And Orlok picked her out and started grooming her when she was, far too young to fully fight back. And now she's old enough to have found her voice and be telling people this is what's happening, and they're still not hearing her. And then the only male character who listens to her kind of empowers her, recognizes it, but even he can't get over kind of, well, now that I think about it, it's possible that the text is letting us know he's just getting the men out of there because she needs to do what she needs to do. So maybe it's not just patriarchy, but he does kind of lean into, hey, we're going to go fight. And all the guys are like, yeah, we're going to go fight. And that's what clears the path for her to really save the day. So it is a cool movie. Go see it and think about it as a movie that is trying to tell you something about the way women are disempowered and disempowered by not being taken seriously, by not being heard. So I really liked it. I'm not sure it's the kind of movie that needs to be seen more than once. I think if you are willing to check it out through that lens, you can get it the first time, and it is disturbing and scary, and so you might not want to watch it multiple times. But I'm sure it will become something of a cult classic, and people will be watching it. There'll be people who watch it over and over and over. Um, which leads me to another discussion that Noah and I were having about this year's Oscars. So this year, I don't know that Nosferatu even qualifies for this year's Oscars, but I was looking at the list. Fully admit, have not seen a bunch of them. There may be something really amazing in there, but I am hopeful that Dune Part Two is going to sweep up. And for a lot of reasons. I'm a total Dune nut. There are very few books left in this room, but I've still got my copies of Dune here. I love those books, but I loved what that film was willing to do. Really, I think of it as one movie. The first part to really take it slowly, sometimes painfully slowly, at the risk of losing viewers. There's something that artists, writers need to be willing to do. And they need to be willing to say, this isn't for you. If you are trying to write something for everyone, you're going to be failing. You will fail. I was talking to my students about this just the other day about choosing an audience. The very first words you put down on the page, you have already lost most of the world because you've chosen a language, right? And so right away, you're not writing for everyone. And within a few words, you've lost, children who are too young to understand those words. And within a few more words, you've made some reference that is going to exclude your grandma. Or include your grandma and exclude teenagers, right? And so we are continually honing an audience, and we have to be willing to do that and be thoughtful about that. And I thought Dune 2 is a lesson for Hollywood that you can have something be successful, which isn't for everybody. And I hope that that is rewarded because they really took their time with the first one and then recognized the second one's going to be the action story, right? But they didn't skip to that and say, let's just tell an action story so that we can make this a blockbuster. And so, yes, the second one deserves the plaudits that it's going to get. The other reason is they were faithful, even though there were a lot of choices that were made in Dune 2, which deviate from the text or choose things from the book that they're just not going to include because there's too much. You have to make those kinds of choices. But one of the things that they kept that I admired so much is that this is not a triumphal victory story. This is the tragic story of somebody who becomes a messiah, and that's bad. And I thought that was really brave. We have so many myths and legends about the chosen one. And we love those stories. And we love those stories because, on some level, we all want to be the chosen one. We all want to say, oh, I'm living under the stairs, and somebody's going to show up and take me off to a school for wizards. And I'm going to find out that, the secret to all of my problems is going to come from outside of my life. And I will be the chosen one. And I'll go off reluctantly, and then I'll become the hero. And everything works out. That's the myth of certainly of kind of Western culture. And one of the things that I love about Dune is that it challenges that and says to be the chosen one, to be the rallying cry for a people who will then go out and commit mass slaughter, is not great. It's not great for you. It's not great for the people who follow you. Being a Messiah character is awful. And I thought Dune 2 was willing to say that thing that challenges our culture, a lot of our cultural kind of beliefs. So um, I hope that cleans up, not because the Oscars particularly matter, but because of the people that they matter to. Right? There are folks in Hollywood who are making decisions right now, and I'm deeply worried about the decisions that artists of all kinds are going to be making in the next 4, 8, 12, 16 years because of the rightward turn of our culture. I think we are going to see this kind of shadow censorship of film studios, book publishers, television producers saying, yeah, we could risk, a year of our life on this book, or $200 million of a producer's money on this film, and then find that it runs counter to the way the culture is moving. So before we even make that risk, let's start cutting LGBTQIA characters out. Let's start cutting out people of color. Let's start making sure that the stories we tell play into the kind of mythos that is more agreeable to the kind of anti-woke MAGA movement. And I understand that fear. I understand where that comes from, and I hope that people push back on that really actively and are willing to say, we're going to tell a different story. We're going to tell a story that messiahs are not good. We're going to tell a story that women should be listened to. We are going to tell those stories even when we're afraid of a backlash, because those are the stories that need to be told right now, and not the stories that reinforce our this rightward fascist leaning that I think is going to persist. So go see Nosferatu, and then if you're like me, see Dune 2 3 or 4 more times. It's really good. Um, so I think that brings me to a larger point that I've been thinking about how to make in the context of this project that I'm working on. I'm seeing folks, I follow a lot of authors. We as writers, even when we're not writing, are thinking about writing. And so part of kind of the zeitgeist that I'm worried about is that I'm seeing writers say, don't make your writing political. It won't sell. And I hope that people will start to recognize that A, that's impossible. Your writing absolutely is political. Your art is political. It is inescapable. And part of that inevitability is that if you try to create art that is not political, that is a powerful political statement. You have absolutely made a political statement that you are in support of the status quo, that you do not want it to be challenged, and you are doing what Timothy Schneider calls obeying in advance. And we are living in the consequence of a lot of folks obeying in advance. All of us, really all of us. I don't want that to sound like I'm, uh, I certainly could have spoken out more, right? But I've been working on this project, and the kind of story behind it is funny. So as you can all see, I'm moving overseas. Uh, Talked about that a little bit. I've teased that here on the show, and I thought, okay, it's important for both me personally to process and for my friends and family for me to explain why I'm leaving, because already so many of the people who are interacting with me about this presume this is why you're leaving. You're leaving because Trump was elected. You're leaving, whatever. They've got their explanation, which is useful to them. It's convenient to them. It's easy for them. It's easy for them to understand. And the true explanation is more complicated, and it is more difficult, and it is far more challenging. Um, and so I started writing a letter. And the idea was that I would write first like a post, that would go up that would explain, okay, this is why I'm GTFOing. And then that got bigger and bigger. And then I thought, okay, this is going to be like a blog post, right? This is not something that I'm going to be able to post to a microblogging, Threads, Blue Sky, Twitter kind of thing. This is no longer something that's now going to fit in a Facebook post or Instagram. Now this is going to be something I'll just link to and I'll post to it on my blog. And it was getting longer and longer, and I think more valuable, hopefully, to the people I'm leaving behind. The few who are willing to read it, right? It could be a lot of folks who say, I just wanted a nice short explanation. And the answer is that there isn't that. There will not be a very short explanation for why I'm leaving. The shorter you make the explanation, the further it becomes from the truth, right? This is complicated. It's not something you can say, oh, Donald Trump, right? No, that is not why I'm leaving. Donald Trump is a symptom. Donald Trump is, anyway, getting ahead of myself. Anyway, so this explanation has been getting longer and longer and longer. And now I am prepared to reveal that it's going to be released as a book. And a book written in 60 days, 50 days. This is, since the election. And I hope that folks will check it out. I'll do the cover reveal soon. I thought about revealing that cover art here, but well, yeah, I think I will. I think it's worth teasing a little bit because I do want folks to check it out. Um, I think maybe even people who don't know me, who have no particular interest in why this one small town English teacher is leaving the country, could still benefit. That's my hope anyway. I hope it is written in such a way that it could be beneficial to people who don't know me as well, even though it is targeted. Well, so that's the mechanism. As I talked about, choosing an audience is really important. And I decided that the kind of formulation would be to write it in the form of a breakup letter with America. And I think that makes it more fun, I hope, because a lot of the ideas in it are not fun. They are difficult. And so hopefully the construction can at least make it a little more intelligible and enjoyable as a read, because you're reading this difficult bunch of ideas through this lens of a breakup letter. So my dear John letter, Dear America, will come out once we are safely on foreign soil, and that's That's the plan, is to have that appear after we're gone. Um, and that has been a really freeing and therapeutic exercise to process these ideas that I wish people had been taking seriously. I think there was a lot of simply unserious responses to our nation's rightward turn towards this fascist movement. People wanted to keep it light. People wanted to protect themselves and their own mental health in the face of something very frightening. I get that. People saw that the right was having the most fun. And in political movements, the group that's having the most fun generally wins. And so they thought they could fight back by having more fun. I get that. I get it. Um, but it meant that they were not serious about the danger. And now we are going to be dealing with the full consequences. And maybe the full consequences will not be as bad as I think. And as I've told many friends, I hope that is the case. I hope I will be sitting in an apartment in Spain in 3 or 4 years, and everyone will be laughing at me because I'll be sitting in an apartment in Spain and I can, handle some people laughing at me. Um, that's much, much better than me being here and being right because I think it's going to be scary. So, anyway, here is the cover. I'm going to put that up here so you can just see the art. We can tease that a little bit. And yeah, if that sounds like something that you might be interested in, the pre-order links will be available in, let's see, days, right? We're to the point where, yeah, you'll be able to pre-order that. I'm going to toss it out there into the world for, what, 99 cents. But I'm going to make a print edition as well that'll cost a little more because you're actually getting paper if you're like me and you like to read your books on paper. And I'm thinking maybe I'll even make a hardcover. Why not? Well, actually, I would love your input. Would folks want a hardcover? So if you have found this show on social media and could reply to the post or put in the comments whether or not you would like a hardcover version to be available. If you tell me that that's something that would be of value to you, I'll make that available as well. And won't be particularly expensive either because it's a short book. But that's the thing; it's much longer than I thought. Right now, we're looking at 120 pages. And there will be more than that in 60 days as I kind of process this. So if you are curious, if you are interested in why I am having to leave the country as a kind of heads up about what a lot of people are, if not doing, feeling and predicting and projecting is going to be happening. I hope it could be valuable to you. Oh, just to be clear, this show will continue when I am in Spain. That is, that's the plan. The publishing company, NotAPipePublishing, will persist. Hopefully, we will publish even more books going forward, and I'm excited about that. So. If you are interested in being a guest on this show, if you know an author that you would like to have be a guest on this show, it may be a little bit more of me just in the next few weeks as we're, getting settled and situated. But we will go back to interviewing more authors. And so if you know an author who has a view of the world that would be helpful to other authors and helpful to that author to spread the word about them as well. I would love to have them reach out and schedule. And if you just know an author who's got a book that they should be advertising, especially indie authors where they're struggling to get the word out, I am still posting ads for other authors' books, and you'll see one of those in a sec. So, Doug, fire up the ad break here, and when we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about how people can engage going forward. Special announcement time. NotAPipe Publishing has always been committed to helping authors and readers find one another. Well, the show, which is all about helping readers get to know writers, just hit a milestone: 10,000 views on YouTube. So to celebrate, instead of charging authors to advertise their books on the show, I'm going to run your ads for free throughout 2024. If you want to make a 30 to 60-second video about your book, let folks know what it's about and where to find it, and don't forget your name and the title. I'll run one or two of those in our ad spot each week. Just send an MP4 file to the NotAPipe email address in the show notes. Let's fix up some readers and authors into reader relationships. 2024. More readers, more writers, more books.
You deserve a vacation.
How about a trip to a dude ranch on a colony planet?
Or a journey to a universe where wizards call lightning down from the sky and calm rumbling volcanoes?
Or a holiday tour of the major cities of Europe with vampires and werewolves and witches as guides.
Or maybe just a nice hot sudsy bath with a book of poetry that will make you cry and sigh and laugh.
We've got you covered.
A paperback will appear on your doorstep each month to whisk you away, and you'll return refreshed, enlightened, and ready to make the world we share a brighter place for everyone.
Or if you prefer, you can sign up for a quarterly subscription and get 4 YA titles, 4 adult titles, or 4 collections of poetry per year.
Plus, you'll get book club questions from the author before you start the book and an interview with the author afterwards.
So, if you are in a book group or want to start one, this is everything you need in a kit. Will we occasionally throw in some extra surprises just to say thank you to our members? Of course.
You can also give someone their very own membership with all of the rights and privileges pertaining thereto.
So, find a reward level that's right for you.
And share this with your friends.
Join the Indulge Your Shelf book club today. Your bookshelves deserve a little pampering.
Hi, I'm children's author Sarah Geddes. I'd love for you to check out my book, Henry the Sneezing Dragon. It's about a clumsy dragon in search of friendship. My book, To the Moon, a Jacob and Trevor adventure, will be released September 2024, a story about 2 little boys who use fairy dust to travel to the moon. And in fall 2024, The Water Bear Astronaut, about a tardigrade who travels to space, will also be coming out. All books will be available on Amazon.
Welcome back, everybody. So, just wanted to share another little tidbit that I'm considering. Created a Patreon. I'm not sure that that's even something that would be useful or interesting to people, but those announcements will go out when this new book becomes available as well. And I'm curious to hear if folks value Patreon as a means to keep track of my work, to support the show and what we're doing here, and to support NotAPipe Publishing in that way. If you would rather get a little bit more for your money, I encourage you to consider the Indulge Your Shelf book club that you just heard about. That is also a way to support NotAPipe Publishing and all its various authors, to support me and my family as we are off trying to, make it with the shirts on our backs in Spain. Not just shirts on our backs. There are boxes, but it's going to be tight, and so your support will really be valuable. It's going to just make a huge difference to us, and I pledge to you that I'm going to try and make sure that I make that worth your while. So if that is something that will be interested, keep an eye out for the Patreon to support the show and NotAPipe via its publisher. Okay, I've got a ton of packing and stuff to get back to, so I hope you have a wonderful week and good New Year's. This will come out. Yeah, this will come out in time for New Year's. Hope you have a great New Year's, and please do keep track of all of the adventures we're going to be on, because We'll post a lot of images, and not just not just me rambling at you, but the puppies wandering around Spain. So you'll want to follow that. Take care, everybody, and have a better 2025 than you expect.